Hello everyone, it's Uncle Destiny back with you. It's time to see what the reading for the month of June holds for us. Now, June is also going to have a switching seasons out of spring and into summer. So we have the summer solstice coming, and that's going to be around June 20th, 21st. Now, for those of us up in the northern hemisphere, that means it's the switch from spring to summer. For those in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite switch. They're going into their they're going into their winter. So let us see what the month of June has for everybody and what the ancestors and spirits have to say. Alrighty, so we've thrown the bones and let's see what we've got here. We got a number of them that are actually at the edge and at the reading surface, and I will say our die came up with number 12 again. It seems to be a very common theme that there's a lot of endings that are coming up, a lot of things that are needing healing, a lot of things needing closure, and also our understanding of spirituality are deeply involved in these last several months. But let's go ahead and take a close look at what we've got here. So we've got our three main bones, one of which is actually partially off the surface. This one I'm going to say this is the work bone. So work is half on this next month. So I'm not saying that it isn't that it is and that you're not going to be working or so forth, but it's not going to be your biggest focus. And there's going to be stuff that clearly is going on outside the reading surface. Some things that are in motion and movement that we're not fully ready to be revealed and fully ready to know about yet. But it's going on. And also the standpoint too, with its proximity to the dice, I'd say there's some elements of our work. Maybe you're phasing out of a position or leaving an organization. And that aspect of the departure is something that's happening now. It's it's an ending, it's a closure, and it's that aspect of healing to what it means to maybe even your change in roles and responsibilities. Maybe you started your own business, maybe you're retiring. All of these things are centered around this principle of work and the changes that are happening in association with it, and especially the ending, the closure. The spiritual change as you change roles is happening around a work bone. Now over here, we have the family and social bones. And we got, again, a bunch of the various support bones around the family one. And they are also very much our spinal one. So they're much more about the structure of the family. They're much more about the intellect and what was thought of in the family, as opposed to so much the emotional component of the family. So there's going to be plenty of things here going on in the family that are going to be emotional, but you've really got to operate not from the place of emotion, but with logic tempering the emotions. It's easy to get carried away. It's easy to get lost in the thought, but we're not looking for that. It's what is being done right. Let me correct that. It's not so much what's being done right. It's what's being done with a consistent understanding and knowledge that we have to be able to make decisions, or we have to be able to support decisions that are beyond what our emotional desire for it. Put simply, our family always wants to protect us, which is good. But in protecting us, that can also mean they'll keep us from making decisions that are about us being uncomfortable, about us taking risks, about us growing. And for us to grow, we have to also become uncomfortable. We have to take risks. And our family, in that aspect of loving and protecting us, can resist that because they're operating from the place of emotion as opposed to the place of logic, which means, yes, they need to go and do this trip. They need to go and do this job. They need to go and do this experience because it is going to become a part of them. And yes, that means risking that you may be hurt. And that is also part of the growth that is necessary for your family. So it's getting out of the emotion and getting to the logic. And in doing so, you support by trying to give them as many of the things they need to be able to go off and do the experience as possible so they can come back. And that's also why I believe the crystal, the quartz crystal, is here. One of the things that comes up often is the story of, oh, I remember when you were knee high. Oh, I remember when you were, so I was changing your diapers. I remember when you used to run around and do all of these things. Yeah, that's great. That's a lovely memory. But that's a memory. That's who they were at that spotlight in time, which is nice to reminisce. But here they are at a different point in their life. They may very well just be graduating from high school. They could be graduating from college. They could be going into the military. They could be going off to be married. You have those memories, that's great. But those are the memories of who they were in the past. And they need to be honored for who they are now and the decisions they're making, the potential that they are making. And that's what this one's going to be about. It's crystallize the new memories, crystallize and the new potential of who they are at this moment in time, as opposed to who they were in the past. Because who they were in the past was at a different age, a different time, a different world. And we have to be able to live in the world that's coming for us in the future. And that's what this is talking about when it comes to dealing with family. And we can expand that also to talk about not just our families in the micro, but our families in the macro. The families of our extended families, of our families of choices, of our communities, of our countries. We need to be able to respect what there was in the past, but we also need to be able to know what's in the future. And if we're constantly trying to clamor about what was in the past, if we're constantly trying to keep seeing them as that little kid who is in diapers, we are not seeing the adult who is making decisions now. We are not seeing the consequences of decisions being made now. And right now, we need to be able to see the consequences, recognize them, and say, yes, I don't want to do that again. Yes, I've learned from it. But so long as we keep living in that past, we don't learn from what's going on right now. And that's what I'm seeing here with the social bone. As you can see, we've got the broken rib bone, this one that kind of often looks like a cane, but we've also got the shell, which is turned inward. And again, it's about the internal standpoint, and multitude of our other support bones here. And that sense of, and here's of course the end of the tailbone, the balance bone. And why that's important, again, about what we're dealing with society, we're dealing with how are we balancing the requirements, the needs, the aspects of what we're going on forward. There are multiple life lessons going on, which is also what we're seeing here with the crystal. And if we are not learning from history, we are doomed to repeat it. And that's also because part of why we're doomed to repeat it is because we are living and looking at something that was so far in the past, so much that we can't look at what's going on now and essentially stop, redirect, and make other choices. And that's too is part of what the die 12 is telling us about the 12th house. It's about endings. It's about closure. We have to close and end the reverence for a certain ideal of the past. If we're ever going to move forward, we have to heal from it. We have to let go of that child that was in those diapers, that idea of power, that idea of existence. Because if you're going to heal it, we have to close it. That wound, and for healing, I mean, really, if you think about most wounds, what they are is a point where the outside has managed to get to the inside of the body. There is a rupture, there is a hole, and that hole has to be closed. Now, we may be able to put bandages on it, but essentially the tissue, the inside, has to work its way back out and close that wound and put that together. And that's what we're looking at. We have to work from the inside out. That means we have to really look at what's going on internally so that we can grow. We must look at it, so the aspect of, are we operating so much from emotion? If so, then we need to temper it by having more logic. If we are operating so much from logic, where's the emotion? Where's the recognition and acknowledgement of it? Many times I hear people talking about they can't believe that somebody's doing this decision or making that decision. It makes no sense. Right, because that's a rational, logical decision. The person that they are dealing with is operating from emotion. So if you want to understand what they're doing, you have to understand their emotions, their joy, their fear, their motivation for approval and acceptance. Over here, we have the copper piece, our connection to spirit. Spirit is right now here on the outside, and it's sort of providing a energy to all that is around it. So spirit is very much leading this, and spirit is very wise. It is very much wise in its aspect of it wants you to grow, it needs you to move beyond where you were. But you've got to do it internally first. You've got to be able to find peace for yourself there before you can make peace outside. Here we have another one of the rib bones, the aspirations, the energy, and again a support bone, and it's coming in. And there's going to be support for all of this, for what's going on with the family, what's going on with the society. And it's going to work its way in, but it's a question of, are you ready for it? And if it does, this is the linchpin one, and it will come in. So again, our energy for this period of time is about endings, it's about healing, it's about spirituality, and then most of all, it's about closure. So you can't go on if you keep living in the past. You can't go on, and this works both ways. Works both ways. For those that have been traumatized by it, those who want to honor it to the point where they want to relive it. To those who are happy with that image, you have to move on. Because if you keep living the past, you become lost there. And in becoming lost there, you fail to see the potential that is before you. You fail to see the problem that is before you. You become blind to what is about to happen, what can happen. So with that, on behalf of the ancestors and the Orisha and the spirits in this world, Ashe.